It is a warm summer evening on Ecliptus. You sit by your bedroom window, waiting for word from your father. Every few months, a letter arrives from some distant war zone of the Imperium. Sometimes there is even a small souvenir enclosed, a regimental badge, a strange coin from a faraway world, a pressed flower from a planet whose name you cannot pronounce. But nothing has arrived for a long time. As the sun begins to set, there is a knock at your bedroom door. It's the family maid, and without a word, she takes your hand and leads you downstairs. As you descend the staircase, your eyes linger on a portrait hanging on the wall. Your father stares back at you, resplendent in the dark green uniform of the 95th Ecliptian Rifles, an officer of the Astra Militarum, a loyal servant of the God Emperor of mankind. Waiting by the front door stands another officer of the same regiment. His expression is solemn. In his hands, a letter and a small wooden box. He kneels and offers them both. Inside the box rests a medal, the Eagle Ordinary. You remember reading about it with the maid, awarded for distinguished service to the Imperium. The officer lowers his head. "I regret to inform you," he says softly, "that your father gave his life in service to the God Emperor. His sacrifice shall be remembered and honoured." For a moment the world goes still. Then he speaks again. "As the child of a fallen servant of the Imperium, you have been selected for enrollment in the Schola Progenium." You don't yet understand the weight of those words, only that tonight is the last night of your childhood and the beginning of your journey toward becoming a Tempestus Scion. The Militarum Tempestus is one of the many institutions fed by the Schola Progenium, one of the Imperium's most ruthless and influential training systems. The Schola takes in the orphaned children of Imperial officers, naval commanders, nobles, and otherwise elite servants of the God Emperor who have fallen in the line of duty. From there, it forges them into the next generation of Imperial authority. Graduates from the Schola Progenium go on to serve across the Imperium, from the Militarum Tempestus, the Inquisition, the Adeptus Ministorum, and the Officio Prefectus, to name but a few. But the path from orphan to scion is a tough one. It's a hard-fought and well-earned path. And to understand a Tempestus Scion, we need to understand, briefly, the system that creates them, the Schola Progenium. When one arrives at the Schola, it is not a gentle thing. Children come from all across the Imperium, some recently orphaned, some pulled from mass planetary catastrophes. Every intake is different, and every intake is tested immediately. The drill abbots begin screening for corruption, instability, weakness, physically, mentally. Anything that is deemed unacceptable is removed early before it can spread. And many recruits undergo mindscaping, an attempt to erase or suppress prior identity. Not always perfect, not always consistent, but enough to sever most ties. There is a slight deviation in canonicity here. I will mention them all at the end, but sometimes they just refer to it as psychological restructuring or indoctrination. Names are replaced, memories are overwritten or buried, new identities are imposed, often after Imperial heroes, forcing the child to carry its expectation. Discipline is absolute. The drill abbots will enforce compliance with brutality in mind. They will watch for dissent and punish disobedience. Within the Schola Progenium, every child is eventually sorted by what their proclivities are. Over the years, this will culminate in the trials of compliance. This division becomes final at this point in time. They're not single tests, but sometimes challenges, a continuous testing of the recruits' inclinations, to put a better term on it. Sometimes it is endless combat drills, endurance training, combat evaluation, psychological pressure, obedience conditioning, all layered on top of each other until only the most resolute are left standing. By this stage, the recruits are already trending towards their fate. Commissars and Tempestus Scions are the standout here, and they begin to diverge at this point. The difference isn't skill, but more temperament. Commissars are shaped by authority, their ideological iron will, and their control, as well as having some level of charisma. Scions are shaped by their gifts in the art of war. And there is another note here, typically about Yarrick, that will be addressed at the end of the video. So, one has passed the trials of compliance, and it is selection day. Recruits are grouped according to their destined paths. Many remain alongside those they trained with since arrival, an intentional reinforcement of a shared identity of brotherhood and competition. Those chosen for the Militarum Tempestus are transferred to further specialist facilities, typically a Militarum Fortress. A Schola Militarum Fortress, apologies, I'm still somewhat jet-lagged, where training will intensify into full Militarum Tempestus graduation. It's notable at this point to mention the relationship between the Scions and the Commissars, because it's one of the most fascinating things that I didn't pick up on until researching this actual video, because both are products of the Schola Progenium. So Commissars and Tempestus Scions have the same upbringing, but they sort of deviated in their training near the end of their tutelage at the Schola Progenium. So Commissars assigned to Tempestus formations understand exactly what they're commanding, soldiers who won't break in the way that a conventional line guardsman might. There's no cultural deviation. Every Scion and every Commissar have the same culture. They come from the same background. They know exactly what their expectations are, their limitations are, and there's a professional closeness, that sometimes an emotional bond, but more safety between the two forces that isn't really notable amongst most Commissars and Line Guardsmen. In a broader context, I tend to separate the Imperial elite infantry into two rough categories. We have Kazakin grade units, regimental elite like the Cadian Kazakin, the Krieg combat engineers, the Grenadiers, both Krieg and Steel Legion flavours, and other similar formations, Tanith Scouts, Katachan Devils, ad nauseum. And then you have the Scion grade forces, those standardised through the Militarum Tempestus. While I prefer the former in tone and character, the latter are often considered the benchmark. A Tempestus Scion is expected to master every piece of issued war gear. This mastery is often symbolically marked, often having icons or insignia branded on their chest denoting their mastery of a particular piece of equipment. Their standard loadout, once earned, is built for primarily flexibility and lethality. Their full Carapace armour and their signature helmet are referred to as, well, Scion Carapace armour. And it is as close to power armour as Imperial mortal infantry can realistically reach. Scions frequently deploy with a lot of auxiliary systems, a lot of different bells and whistles and gadgets, such as the monoscope, a shoulder-mounted optic. You see it on all the models in the artwork. These are both optics and light systems. It allows battlefield commanders to observe engagements in real time through individual soldiers. Alongside this, Scions have the Slate Monitron, which is a gauntlet-mounted data slate, often worn on the right hand. This tracks orders, mission data, biometric status, everything a commander needs to evaluate Scions on the fly. Their primary weapons are variants of the Lasgun, often the riser pattern hotshot Lasgun, or colloquially known as a Hellgun, fed by high output power arrays mounted on the back carapace plate. These weapons are both precise, adjustable, and extremely efficient in the hands of a Tempestus Scion. For sustained fire rolls, the hotshot volley gun is the standout choice, and most Tempestor primes tend to hold the hotshot volley gun as the pinnacle of the Tempestus armory. Doctrine emphasizes a rapid deployment mindset. Typically, this results in grav chute insertion, Valkyrie combat deployments, Taurox assault carriers as standard. The Scions never arrive slowly, they are meant to appear within a blink. Scion organization is deliberately simple. Squads are led by Tempestors, essentially the equivalent to a non-commissioned officer, typically a sergeant. Above them sit the Tempestor primes, who see the larger operational command structure. And one of the more specialized branches within the Tempestus Scions, or the Militarum Tempestus as a whole, are the Tempestus Aquilons. Now, Aquilons are selected from Scions who demonstrate unusual initiative, typically those who act decisively without waiting for rigid instruction, or who interpret orders with aggressive autonomy. They are deployed for high-impact operations, orbital insertion strikes, rapid decapitation raids, sabotage, shock assaults. Their role is speed and disruption, not sustained engagement. And while they are relatively new, that's all the information on the Aquilons I can find. So, the two clarifications I brought up throughout this video. So first, mindscaping is a bit inconsistent in the canon. Some sources suggest near total memory erasure, while others, such as certain accounts in Gaunt's Ghosts involving Colonel Commissar Ibrahim Gaunt, imply partial retention of pre-scholar identity. It's kind of wishy-washy. That's probably not the right term, but it's almost, it's more up to the writer's discretion as to try and coin the right phrase. It's up to the writer's discretion, because some guard authors will write it one way, others will write it another way. Sometimes they've written things before the established canon, and you just need to make a little asterisk next to it and say this was written before the established canon of nowadays. Secondly, again, this is second verse, same as the first. The trials of compliance are not always absolute determinants, as I found. There are exceptions, like Sebastian Yarrick, who we covered recently on the channel, initially slated for Scion service, apparently training to be a Tempestus Scion at first, later transferred into the Officio Prefectus at some point during or before the opening of Yarrick Imperial Creed. My memory's a bit hazy on that, but correct me in the comments, or just let me know in the comments what you thought. What you think of the Scions? Do you like them? Do they need a refresh, a model refresh? I mean, the Aquilons look really, really cool. I'm not going to lie. They are... It's going to be a hard decision whether I buy a squad of Kazakin or a squad of Aquilons next for Kill Team. But that is all I've got for you today. Thank you for making it this far in the video. Please leave a like and subscribe. It's, you know... as corny and cheesy as it sounds, it really does help the channel. It lets me know where I'm going right. And conversely, if I'm going somewhere wrong, please let me know. You don't have to like the video if I do something wrong, just leave a comment. And yeah, I'm always trying my best to present these topics in a way that is digestible for a new like a newcomer to the setting, to 40k, and to just the hobby in general. I know I stopped with the tabletop tactics video, but with staring down the barrel of 11th edition, most of the tabletop tactics videos I would have uploaded would have been out of date about 3 days before they uploaded. So, right, that's enough waffling for me. I'm gonna love you and leave you. I'm still jet lagged as hell. See ya.